Hello and welcome to Face with the Institute of Catholic Culture here on the GRN Radio Network. I think I just repeated myself. Yeah, Guadalupe Radio Network. I'm Father Hezekias Cardinal, founder and executive director of the Institute. And that nice laugh is coming from our co-producer and friend, Annie Mitchell. How you doing, Annie?
Hey, Padre. I'm doing well. Happy to be here on the GRN Guadalupe Radio Network.
Thank you. We're going to have a lot of fun today, I think, Annie. But yes. Let's get started in prayer. I have a beautiful prayer that is a Lenten prayer in the Byzantine tradition. I'm going to share with all of you today. Blessed is our God at all times, both now and ever, and unto ages of ages. Amen. O Lord and Master of my life, deliver me from the spirit of slothfulness, meddling, ambition, and vain talk. Bestow upon me, your servant, the spirit of purity, humility, patience, and love. Yes, O Lord and King, grant that I may be aware of my own sins and not to judge my brother, for thou art blessed unto ages of ages. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. We're going to have Dr. Jared Stout with us today, Annie, and all those participating in this program face to face with the Institute of Catholic Culture. Again, I'm Father Hezekias Carnazzo, and Dr. Jared Stout's going to be with us. We're going to be talking about technology, catechesis, and culture, and you are blessed to be able to participate in this program today.
Yes, and as we will always do, we'll start off with a little bit of a Bible study, and today we're going to be talking about fasting, right, Father?
That's right, and what I meant, by the way, about you being blessed to participate in this program is that you could really participate, and that is, we don't want you just listening, we want you calling in, writing in, asking questions, and really getting engaged in the conversation. But you're right, Annie. Right away, we're going to jump in here and do a little Bible study because, I think we need a little bit of biblical literacy. I was speaking with a friend of mine the other day who was visiting some friends on the East Coast, and they got a little conversation. Now, my friend is Catholic and visiting some friends who are fallen away from the church and are now evangelical Protestants. And of course, we're in the middle of Lent. And so they started talking about fasting, and this lady's friends said, no, we don't fast. That's Old Testament stuff, that's Christians don't fast. And
really?
Yeah, this conversation really happened. So I thought, let's jump in. Let's make sure we're all on the same page, Annie, regarding fasting and the Bible. Because, I know this week is a lot of feasting going on with St. Patrick's Day. We got St. Joseph's Day tomorrow. I hope everybody's preparing their St. Joseph's bread, their table. And so there's a lot of feasting going on. But in the midst of all of this, of course, we're in this Lenten fast. So, if you got a Bible handy, let's take a look. And we're just going to do a really quick Bible study before Dr. Jared Stout joins us on this question of technology, catechesis, and culture. And he's going to be talking about fasting, of course, regarding technology. So the first thing I want all of our participants to remember, it is that God ordained the first fast in paradise. Yes? When he told our first parents, Adam and Eve, that they were not to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, lest they die. Yeah, the fathers of the church, of course, say that the tree of knowledge of good and evil was itself good. Yeah, it was a good for them. In fact, it was the gateway to their communion with God, but it was their opportunity to exercise their free will so as to choose what was truly good in their life. I heard an old priest explain it like this, Annie. It's kind of like a mother who's preparing cookies for the kids, in the oven.
Sure. Okay.
And she wants she wants the kids to get what she's preparing, right? But what does she say to the child? Don't touch the oven or you're going to get burned. Yeah, exactly. So out of love for the child, she says, wait a minute. And ultimately, and this is important to remember, ultimately that mother wants the child to be able to open the oven and get the cookies out, but it's going to take time for the child to learn. To be able to approach this gift in the right way. And that's exactly how the church fathers tell us the Lord, placing the tree of knowledge of good and evil, place a fast upon it so that we might choose the true good and then all things would be given to us in their proper order. And this, we can come back to this in a minute, because this is what all of our fasting is about in the church today. Now, of course, some of our participants may say, yeah, Father, but that's the Old Testament.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I mean, what the bridegroom, right? This is, I mean, Jesus himself gets asked about why he doesn't fast, correct?
Well, yeah, he does. He does. But first of all,
well, first of all,
remember,
he does fast.
He does fast, exactly. Yeah. Remember, it was Jesus who fasted 40 days in the desert. I love the 40-day fast that Jesus enters, because it's the Lord knows the work of the evil one, and he knows what he's going to do. All the great saints were like this always, and that is that they could recognize the fingerprint of the devil whenever he's working. Yeah, they also recognize the fingerprint of God in their lives, and the Lord, of course, is the one who knows all things, and so he knows that the devil himself is tempted by our fasting. Right? It's upon the fast with Adam and Eve that the evil one enters and brings us down. And therefore it is Jesus, who is the new Adam, who intentionally fasts. And I like to say he tempted the tempter. Yeah, he set the trap, and restored us to our proper place, giving us dominion again, and truly chaining the evil one by setting aside those things of this world, which had been dislocated from their communion with God, so that we could receive them back in their proper relationship to the one who fills all things with life. Yes, and so let's remember, Jesus fasted. Okay, that's one thing. Okay, but I want to also point out to all of our participants an important text, and that's in Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6, verse 16. Matthew chapter 6, verse 16, part of the Mount of Beatitudes discourse. Matthew chapter 6, verse 16. Jesus says, when you fast, do not look dismal like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces, that their fasting may be seen by men. Yeah? So Jesus doesn't say if you fast.
He says when.
When you fast, exactly, and this is critically important. Okay, we also, by the way, Annie, could take a look at Mark chapter 2. Okay, Mark chapter 2, and then I've got one final one I want to share with you guys also, because and again, you should be. I hope all of our participants, you're getting out your Bible. When we do this little Bible study at the beginning of our Face-to-Face with the Institute of Catholic Culture program, it's important that we become comfortable with our Bibles. So you might have a cell phone, put the cell phone aside, okay? Especially today when we talk about technology and the restoration of Catholic culture. Get out a real Bible. Annie, you got a Bible there?
I got a real Bible right here.
There you go. That's right. And so you got to get out your Bible and get comfortable, turning Matthew to Mark, back to Leviticus, over to Genesis, over to Exodus, and so forth, and get comfortable with your Bible again, okay? So what are we going to look at here, Annie? Mark chapter 2. Mark
verses
chapter
18 down through, 22 or so?
There you go. There you go. Now, John's disciples, this is John the Baptist, okay? Now, John's disciples and the Pharisees were fasting, and people came and said to him, it's to Jesus, why did John's disciples and the disciples of the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast? And Jesus said to them, can the wedding guest fast while the bridegroom is with them? And this is important, Annie, because we can also, important today, we're going to be talking about the restoration of Catholic culture and the restoration of feasting.
Yes.
Which sadly, we've lost in the church very much. A real ascetical fast, a sense of real fasting in the church. And because we've lost the fast, we've also lost a sense of feasting, sadly. And we're going to talk about that. So listen, look, we're in Mark chapter 2, verse 19. Okay. And Jesus said to them, can the wedding guests fast while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they cannot fast. the days will come when the bridegroom is taken away, and then they will fast. So fasting is the mark of the Christian. So if anybody ever says to you, oh no, that's Old Testament, we don't fast anymore, we don't do that, you say, that's actually one of the marks of the Christian, that they fast. So if you're not fasting, you got a major problem with your understanding of Christianity. Yeah? And like I said, Andy, we want to look at one more text. All of us participating here today, I'm going to ask you to turn to Mark chapter 9. Mark chapter 9 at, where are we at? Mark chapter 9, verse 14, I believe it is. Yes. And you can just scan this. Listen, I'm just going to tell you the story very quickly. This is the story of the man who comes to Jesus with the boy. His boy is a demoniac. He's possessed. Yeah? He's throwing himself. He's frothing at the mouth. He's doing all this stuff. And the father comes to him and says, please help. If you can help us, have mercy on us. And Jesus becomes apparently a little frustrated. And he says, what's wrong with you people, the apostles? He had sent the apostles out, to do the ministry, to drive out the demons. And then what does Jesus say? This type cannot be driven out by anything but prayer and fasting. And here, Annie, I think is the most important thing. It's going to help us understand our topic today as we welcome Dr. Jared Stout to our program today to talk about technology, to talk about culture, to talk about catechesis, okay? And that is that it was possible, as Jesus teaches us, for the apostles to fast as a way to heal this boy.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
The communion of persons within the church is a very powerful concept. When we are baptized into Christ, we are made one with him. And each one of us then benefits when the other is in communion with God. And we suffer when another sins. Yeah, we have an ontological spiritual relationship.
I seem to remember St. Paul saying something about that.
Well, you see, we're made, absolutely, we're made one in Christ.
Yeah, that we're all one body, and if one part of the body suffers, then the whole body suffers, et cetera, et cetera. This is solidarity,
Absolutely.
Christian solidarity.
Annie, I'm really looking forward to today's topic on Face-to-Face with the Institute of Catholic Culture, because we're going to spend our time really discussing this importance of a communion of persons and the challenges that we face in the church today, and the challenges that technology, modern society present to us. And I think it's gonna be a challenging topic to all of us because in many ways all of us are tied to technology.
Yeah.
We know all that, right? And to be honest with you, I'm the most guilty of all, right? I'm almost addicted as I am to my cell phone, to my so-called smartphone. It doesn't make me smart at all, okay? And but we're going to be challenged, and then not only about technology, but then about having the right things in our life, so that we're living the Christian life in the fullest possible manner. And I want to invite everybody, if you want to learn more, go further in this, as we're going through today, as we're spending time together, you can go to iccradio.org or iccradio.org/learn, and we're going to be sharing a lot more with you today.
Most definitely, including a couple of talks that aren't by Dr. Stout himself, but a couple of talks that you remember specifically from the ICC, Father, that are very pertinent to this topic.
Absolutely. We have Tied to Technology with Dr. Cuddeback on our website. Also, Father Scalia, Technology and the Tree. So we've got a lot of resources there at the Institute of Catholic Culture. You can visit us at instituteofcatholicculture.org and learn more, or iccradio.org. And there's a lot of resources that we're going to make available for everybody today.
We'll be back with Face to Face right after this.
Looking for a Catholic university where the greatest works of Western and Catholic tradition are the foundation for learning, all in an environment that is faithful to the magisterium? Recommended by the Cardinal Newman Society, the University of Dallas offers an exceptional liberal arts education, preserving the wisdom of the past while preparing students for world-changing futures. Academically excellent, always faithful. Apply today at udallas.edu.
Instead of fighting the crowds, isn't it so much easier to hop online and do your shopping in the comfort of your own home? Did you know that you can help the Guadalupe Radio Network when you shop online? All you need to do is shop on Amazon Smile and 0.5% of your purchase goes to the GRN. Just go to amazonsmile.com and select La Promesa Foundation as your nonprofit of choice. La Promesa is the parent company of Guadalupe Radio. It's that simple to give a little extra help to the Guadalupe Radio Network.
Access to clean water is something we often take for granted. When we turn on a faucet, out pours clean water that's safe for drinking. But that's not true in countries like Kenya, where the number one cause of child mortality is from drinking contaminated water. Together we can change that. Cross Catholic Outreach works with local Catholic partners around the world to transform the lives of families living in poverty. Join this mission at crosscatholic.org/bless.
Catholic radio was there for me when I needed it. Even though I didn't think I needed it, it was there for me. I want everybody to know that I'm giving, not so that I can sit there and say that I gave to GRN for any other reason but this. I want that radio station to be there for anyone else who needs it also. They may not think they need it, but it's going to be there for them, whether it's in the future, whether it's right now. I want that radio station to always be there for them, just like it was there for me.
The Guadalupe Radio Network. Radio for your soul.
Welcome back to Face to Face on the Guadalupe Radio Network. I'm Father Hezekias Carnazzo from the Institute of Catholic Culture, joined today by Dr. Jared Stout, Associate Superintendent for Mission and Formation in the Archdiocese of Denver, and author of two great books, Restoring Humanity, Essays on the Evangelization of Culture, and my favorite, The Beer Option, Brewing a Catholic Culture Yesterday and Today. Welcome, Dr. Stout.
Thanks so much for having me.
Good to have you with us. Now, I want to make sure everybody knows that they can find you on your website. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's buildingcatholicculture.com. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And you're currently teaching, Dr. Stout's currently teaching a fantastic course for us at the Institute of Catholic Culture, Catechism 201, on the art of catechesis. And I got to tell you, Doctor, that we haven't known each other a long time, but you're ranking right up there at the top of my favorite teachers at the ICC. I feel like what you're teaching and what I'm interested in, we've been on the same road for, I think, many years, and the Lord's bringing us together. And I want to just thank you for your teachings. Beautiful.
Oh, it's really an honor to be teaching for the Institute. And if you want to see that we're on the same page, just look at the name of your institute and the name of my website, right?
That's
we're
right.
Definitely on the same page.
buildingcatholicculture.com, and of course you can visit us and learn from Dr. Stout at the Institute of Catholic Culture.org. Again, he's teaching our Catechism 201 on the art of catechesis, which is good for parents, grandparents, catechists, pastors, deacons. It's an excellent course, and it's all free of charge. But today, Doctor, we're going to be specifically talking about technology and its relationship to evangelization, catechesis, and culture.
And we want to invite our listeners to feel free to join the conversation. You can call 877-757-9424 with your questions. That's 877 757-9424. We're also monitoring various social media feeds, so feel free to leave a question in the feed, whether it be with the Guadalupe Radio Network or the Institute of Catholic Culture's various media feeds as well, and we're going to try to get to as many of those as we can today.
Thank you, Annie. And so let's jump into our topic here, Doctor, on technology. And I was thinking about it. It's kind of a cliche, technology is bad. Everybody's like, you're on your cell phone too much. Everyone's saying it. Everyone knows it. Okay, but it's getting kind of old. Okay, but the fact is that we're more connected today than in the history of the world. But the way we're connected is very different. And that's really what we're going to be talking about. In the midst of this kind of this closeness that we have because of technology, is constant, I'm able to call my friend or my, whoever it is, right? My kids or whatever it is. And yet the divorce rates are up. There's greater racial polarization than ever before. It just seems, honestly, that in the midst of all of this connection we have, society seems to be falling into pieces.
You could say the connectedness is making us disconnected.
Yes, thank you, Doctor. Yes. And so I want to. You're the one that has been studying this quite a bit, and I'd like you just to speak about this problem maybe in general terms regarding society and what I would say is a dehumanization of society, which seems to be taking place.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you're right about people feeling very uncomfortable talking about technology. It's almost like, let's not go there. But, a lot of people tell me technology is neutral. However, a tool conditions the use of the tool. That's even why we have the phrase, to the man with the hammer, everything looks like a nail. And look, it's just a hammer, right? But we could say the same thing, just about the internet or smartphones. They're just tools, right? Sure. But once you accept that tool, it will condition your life. And so it's not simply neutral because it shapes your life in so many ways.
Well, Doctor, I think that example is excellent. And I'd like you to share with us your thoughts on technology as a tool and how you see it shaping society today.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of the ways that I've seen this very personally is that I decided to go back to a flip phone.
What? Doctor,
basically,
awesome. I didn't know those still existed.
They do. You have to really look hard for them.
Of course, there's some in our audience that are saying, "Oh, what?
What's that?" But what I've found is that my phone is now a tool. That it's not something that is constantly bombarding me, with images and with sounds. I'm not, spending all of my free moments scrolling through my phone because there's nothing to scroll there. But if I need to call someone, I'll take it out of my pocket, I'll dial the number up, and I will call them. And so it meets that particular need. And that's what a tool is. There's something that needs to be done. I will pick up the tool when the time is right, and I will use the tool. The problem with technology now is that it has oversaturated our lives, our society. I was thinking about this when you were talking about technology, right? Is it good? Is it bad? Water is good. You need water to survive. You must drink it every day. And yet we're drowning, right? In technology, right? So it's like, okay, I need the water, but if there's too much water, I can't breathe, right? And I am going to die. And that's what happens, So yes, use it for particular tasks and purposes, but don't drown in it. And it's so hard to say, well, no, I'm going to have a smartphone. It's going to be with me all the time, but I'm only going to use it for this or for that. It's, as we all know, it's very difficult.
And of course, okay, we're not just talking about smartphones, are we? You've gotten rid of your smartphone, which I haven't had the courage to do yet. Yeah. But in my home, when I was a boy, my dad decided to get rid of the television. Which you want to talk about touching upon a nerve? Okay, we're gonna hit a nerve here. But all of us have seen this thing going on where the phone is meant to do what you're saying. It's to connect people and so forth like that. But as a pastor, I have to tell you that I regularly on Sunday, now I'm Byzantine, so after church is done, we always eat together as a community. Not all Byzantine churches do this, but it's fairly common to see this take place. It's a coffee hour. We have a coffee hour. We have some food to share, and people hang around, talk, and reacquaint themselves. But at the teenagers' table, none of them are actually talking to each other. All of them are on their phones like this. And so I look at it and I say to them, do you realize that the image and likeness of God is sitting in front of you and you're looking at a piece of plastic? Okay? So I'm going to say this, that though these phones and so forth are meant to connect us, it seems to me, Doctor, that we are more individualized, if you will. Maybe I'm using the wrong way of saying that, but we're creating isolation rather than community.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes they'll even be texting the person next to them in that group. I mean, literally, right? And what does that do? It's a devolution, of our communication, right? We're going backwards, and it's more primitive, a few words or symbols, you're not even writing out whole sentences. So it's definitely troubling. And what do we see, right? So you have teens in particular, but it's all of us, right? We're on social media all the time, so we're supposedly connected to everyone, but it does make you feel more isolated. And, I'm in education, so I work with Catholic schools, and you see all these schools that are out there. We need to have, the cutting edge technology, state of the art in our classroom. But wait a second, there's all of these studies out there that show that technology in the classroom hinders learning. But we're not even paying attention because we just want to show that we are cutting edge. Our schools are best. We're going to help our students, even though it doesn't help. And you could look at the same thing, with teenagers. Why are teenagers more depressed than they have been in the past? Why is there more mental illness and anxiety? Well, in part because of the saturation of technology and social media. So we're not really asking questions about, okay, is this good? How should we use it? It just kind of happened. The tsunami overwhelmed us as we were kind of looking the other direction. We just all accepted it. And we didn't really think, okay, what is the right way to use this?
So, Doctor, there's your question. I remember we're studying right now at the Institute of Catholic Culture philosophy. In addition to your course, we're doing a philosophy course, and we're starting to study Plato's Republic. And I was reminded of Socrates, who says the unexamined life, when he's about ready to be put to death, okay? He says the unexamined life is not worth living, okay? And so I'm going to go, it's the Institute of Catholic Culture. We like to dive deep. We like to examine things. And so I'm going to go after this. I'm going to go a little philosophy with us here, and Doctor, and ask you to kind of guide us through this and say, is it good? Is it good for our humanity? Which is going to ask a second question, not only what is technology for, or what are cell phones for, what is a good use of them, but what are we for, right? If I don't know what my life's about and what its purpose is, then I can't really ask myself whether this is a good thing to have as part of it or not have a good thing as part of it. So I'm going to ask you to speak with us about that technology in terms of our human nature made in the image and likeness of God.
Yeah, in a way that's cutting right to the chase, right? What is our life all about? What are we made for? And we can say we are made for communion. Okay, how do we enter into communion? Well, we're made ultimately for communion with God, and through our communion with God, communion with other people. And vice versa, right? We enter more deeply into communion with God through our communion with others as well. But it's through knowledge and love. And the way that we enter into communion with God through knowledge and love is contemplation. It's not just intellectual, right? That's meditation. Right? As you're meditating on the scriptures, you're using your mind. But in silence, in peace, through knowing God, through your meditation, you should come into an encounter with him, communion with him in prayer. That is contemplative prayer. And you literally cannot do that if your mind is distracted by something else. You have to focus. You concentrate your attention And so meditation leads you into contemplation, but just to be with God, to sit with him, and to allow him to draw you into this communion. And from this point of view, the most important book on technology is Cardinal Syrah's The Power of Silence. And he talks about the dictatorship of noise, actually. And I like to combine that with another book that's just written from, a secular point of view, which is Nicholas Carr's The Shallows, What the Internet is Doing to Our Brains. Because if we enter into communion with God through contemplation, but the internet, and of course that at this point is not just computers, it's mostly smartphones, right? If that oversaturation of noise and images is making our mind shallow, that's directly related to contemplation. I mean, what Nicholas Carr gets into is the fact that our brains literally are being rewired to jump from one thing to another very quickly, and to not just be able to sit with something, think about it deeply, to not even be able to read deeply, to sit for an extended period of time with just a book, say, right, and read it for an hour. And that literally we have to fight against, the pathways of our brains and these habits that we're forming. And it's possible because we can reestablish other habits, right? And so, yeah, if our minds are shallow and we're not able to think about something deeply, read something deeply, that's going to directly then impact our prayer. We're going to have a hard time sitting still in the chapel. We're going to be fidgeting around. We're not going to be able to meditate in a way that will lead us into contemplation. And we're going to have a very difficult time with the silence that is needed for communion.
Okay, doctor, but I'm going to stop you there, okay, because that's all, what you're saying, I my bad, but I can turn off my cell phone. I can go in and do my adoration hour. I can find that space and time and still be able to use all of this technology. And in fact, it would seem that the church blesses the use of technology in the work of the new evangelization and so forth. But I wonder, and I'm going to put this out to you. I don't know what you're going to say about this, but do you see technology causing a disruption in the evangelical mission, or a challenge to the evangelical mission of the church, or is it a total good?
Well, really we have to differentiate between means of communication and then our own personal habits. Right, so here we are on the radio, and we also have, a live internet feed here as well. So people are listening to us through technology and watching us through technology. And, I'm able to teach hundreds of people through the Art of Catechesis class for the Institute. So yes, the church is telling us, there is this new way of communicating out there, and we need to take advantage of that. We need to reach people through that. And so the Institute is a great example of using technology in that way. And yet, as I'm saying, we're definitely forming habits in our life. And technology is leading to more isolation, more depression and anxiety. It is hindering learning, making it more difficult to read and to sit in silence, right? And just to have normal interactions with people. I mean, you see this not just with a table of teenagers after church on Sunday. Literally, even in bed, you have a couple that are both on their smartphones, and sometimes they're even texting each other, or they're just watching a video or whatever kind of mindless thing that they're doing. They're not even talking to one another. And that's where I'm saying that technology can hinder communion. So it's, in a way, it's like we need to use technology to get the message of the gospel out there, but then to help people to order their lives rightly. And a lot of people are not taking an hour for prayer, Father, as you know, right? I mean, if only they were, that would be actually forming a good habit, right, of silence and of contemplation. And I think it's just more difficult to do that. And of course, it's possible. So we need to use technology to get the message out that we need to use technology less.
Okay, I know people are going to want to jump in this conversation, Annie. So let's go ahead and give the phone number out. If anybody wants to call in and ask Dr. Stout, I've got some questions for him. Go ahead, Annie.
877-757-9424. Again, 877 877-757-9424 to call in with your questions for Dr. Jared Stout, or you can go to the various social media feeds and type in your question there, and we'll get them out to them.
So, Doctor, I want to jump in here and maybe change the course of our conversation slightly, because I see a tendency, especially among more conservative-minded Catholics in their homes and so forth like that they will remove things like the television, like this, the cell phone use in the living room, things like that. But then I don't see much being put back in its place. Okay, and we end up with well, there's all sorts of ramifications to that one. But your website on building Catholic culture, also the Institute's interest in Catholic culture. I'd like you to just speak for a moment about once that's removed from our lives, and that's the problem. I remove it, and I said, what am I going to do now? Mm-hmm. What do we put back in there so that we're actually living a good Catholic life?
Yeah, it's like the gospel parable. The one demon goes out and brings, the others back with them. Right?
That's right.
So I would say that the family meal should be a sacred time in the home, so that, everyone is busy doing all these different things, between work and after school activities or even technology use. So have this sacred time in the home where everyone comes together and talks to one another. There's no technology or phones, at the table. And to say that, we're going to make sacrifices so that our family has that time together. We are going to pray together in the morning and at night. That, in my mind, is Catholic culture in the home, because culture is a way of life. So is your way of life centered around your faith? And the number one way of shaping your day and shaping the week through your faith is prayer. So you have that, rhythm of prayer in the home every day. You have the meal time. I like to read out loud to my kids. You rediscover board games. You sit around, play the games together.
What was that, Doctor?
Right. No, what I said is everyone should get out their phone and play a game together on the phone. No, board games. And then Sunday is the Lord's Day. That whole day should be set aside for God and for the family. So go to Mass and stay afterwards, like you're saying, Father. Have a larger meal together as a family. Go, for a walk or a hike, and then that's a great day for the board games or outside, throwing the football around, whatever it is. But really make that a day to unplug and invest in God and one another.
Dr. Stout, where does beer fit into this?
Well,
right.
in the beer option, I talk about the origin of the beer garden, and it actually was on Sundays after church. Families would go home and get their food, and then they would go to the picnic tables under the large oak trees, and then they'd bring the beer out from the breweries, and all the families would have picnics together. That's the origin of the beer garden. So yes, beer does factor into the celebration of the Lord's Day.
Nice, Annie, especially in light of St. Patrick's Day. I hope everybody's clear-minded today, because we don't want to forget that we are still in a time of fasting. And you can call in. Feel free to jump in here and give us a call if you want to talk to Dr. Stout, if you have questions for him. Let's give that phone number again, Annie. 877-757-9424. Again,
877-757-9424.
Doctor, you mentioned about your book on the beer option, brewing a Catholic culture yesterday and today, obviously with a little bit of a wink of the eye here. But beer is good if it's used in the right way. And it's so sad for me as a priest oftentimes to see our beautiful Catholic culture lost in so many places. And you're right, the center, the core, the root of that is our prayer with God. There is no communion with other people that doesn't have communion with God. The Lord is the source of unity. There is no unity with one another apart from Him. Mm-hmm. So that restoration of our relationship with one another must begin in our restoration with the Lord. But I see oftentimes in homes, in Catholic homes, is a real lack of, and in parishes, by the way, a lack of understanding of real feasting. Catholics, we're the ones that are supposed to be the ones dancing, right? Jesus is risen from the dead. We're the ones that are supposed to be full of song Yeah, in our homes, in our workplaces, and wherever we go in our lives, we're the only ones that can't just talk anymore, right? We sing together because Jesus is risen from the dead. And there's another component about this also that I'd like you to speak about, and that is, during this time of Lent, the role of fasting in the church as a part of Catholic culture and as an avenue toward authentic feasting. If you could speak to that.
Yeah, I have a whole chapter on drunkenness in the book, right, which is an obstacle to communion. Right? I mean, you go off in your corner and you drink, and it breaks your communion with God and other people. So I say that Catholic drinking should be done through feasting, fasting, and friendship. And what is the fast, right? It is a time to remove the obstacles out of your life, the things that you're attached to, including alcohol, right? I mean, traditionally, there was a fast from alcohol during Lent, although we know also that there are particular monks who made special beers to get them through the Lenten fast, but that's a whole nother story. So we have these extended periods of fasting in Lent and Advent in particular, so that we can enter into the feast and really then be able to appreciate the good things that God has given us. That festivity, Joseph Pieper says, is a big yes to God and his creation of our own lives. And we rejoice in the good things that he has given us. And we rejoice through the singing, the dancing, the feasting, and really just the communion we have with other people.
How would you say fasting does that? How does fasting bring about proper feasting?
Well, there has to be a no in a way to myself, that I'm dying to myself, to my attachment to the goods of the earth, because, I think, for instance, I find it very important to have a beer fast every so often so that I can really enjoy it, that I'm not, just kind of getting attached to it. And then I'm not even really able to appreciate it. So then you kind of get it back. You say no to things in the fast. And then in that yes, right, of festivity, God is like giving it back to you as a gift that you have anew. And then it really becomes a sign, in this case, even of the resurrection, that we die to the world. And then we can actually appreciate the world even more fully in that celebration.
We've got Inez from Southern California calling in with a comment and a question. Inez, go ahead. Inez, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead with your comment. Oh, I think Inez has her radio turned up. Inez, turn down your radio. We'll come back to you in just a second here.
Hello. Hello?
Yeah, Inez, go ahead. We're here for you.
Hi. How are you doing? Father Hezekias and Dr. Stout. I have a comment regarding what you were talking about. What this is doing to our social, what the media is doing to our brains, the using of the telephones and stuff. I acquired a habit of during Advent, Lent, Wednesdays and Fridays during the year to fast from social media, especially Facebook, and that kind of media, and also not to use two things at the same time, which is something that we tend to do something on the iPad and something on the phone. That's a comment, and I realized that I can concentrate much better on my prayer life that way. And the question that I have for you is this. I noticed that a number of my friends, especially serious Catholics, are walking away from social media, while we know that young people and the more secular people are getting more and more into it. Do you think that this is going to bring some kind of more polarization in society?
Yeah, that's a great, Inez, this is actually a great question about the evangelical mission of the church. Doctor, can you stay with us through the break and come back to this issue? Because it really is, I think, touching a very important topic as we conclude our conversation. So, Doctor, if you'll stay on with us through the break, we will we'll answer Inez's question. Anybody else that wants to chime in here and participate in the conversation, you're welcome to do that. We've been talking with Dr. Jared Stout. You can find more of his teaching at the ICC, Institute of Catholic Culture.org, or ICCradio.org. We'll be back in just a moment.
Next week, we will be hosting our quarterly share-a-thon on Tuesday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time. The GRN is 100% listener supported, and for only 16 days out of the year, you have the opportunity to be an active part of the GRN family by making a pledge of support for your radio station. Please pray for the success of the share-a-thon. We are so very thankful that you are part of the Lord's divine providence, sharing of your prayers and financial gifts, which sustain the work of evangelization through the powerful means of radio. I invite you to tune in and join us next week as we share how Catholic radio has changed so many lives for all eternity due to your support to keep your station on the air. This is Len Oswald, President of the Guadalupe Radio Network, with your GRN Family Minute. We are your Catholic radio, radio for your soul.
Looking for a Catholic university where the greatest works of Western and Catholic tradition are the foundation for learning, all in an environment that is faithful to the magisterium? Recommended by the Cardinal Newman Society, the University of Dallas offers an exceptional liberal arts education, preserving the wisdom of the past while preparing students for world-changing futures. Academically excellent, always faithful. Apply today at udallas.edu.
Access to clean water is something we often take for granted. When we turn on a faucet, out pours clean water that's safe for drinking. But that's not true in countries like Kenya, where the #1 cause of child mortality is from drinking contaminated water. Together we can change that. Cross Catholic Outreach works with local Catholic partners around the world to transform the lives of families living in poverty. Join this mission at crosscatholic.org/bless.
Welcome back to Face to Face. I'm Father Hezekias Carnazzo from the Institute of Catholic Culture with Annie Mitchell today, talking with Dr. Jared Stout regarding technology, catechesis, evangelization, and let's be honest, I mean, we've gone from dancing to beer to fast, all things Catholic, yeah? We just had a call, Doctor, from Inez, asked a very important question. We only have a few minutes left together today, but Inez asked a very important question. More and more the young people are going to social media. More and more the young people are on their cell phones. More and more so forth like that. And you're telling us you got to put these things aside. Well, aren't you going to cause this massive divide between a whole generation of people and the only avenue towards salvation, and that is the avenue of Jesus Christ, and those who are taking it seriously?
Yeah, and I would say that, her comment is important because we were just talking about fasting before feasting. And she was saying that she has, a particular day of the week, Friday, when she doesn't use social media. And so I think that is important, that we have ways of taking a step back and making sure that it doesn't overwhelm us. Then I think we can be very intentional about how to use it. Because what you might hear people say is, well, I'm going to stay on Facebook because I need to have a presence on there. And then it overwhelms their life and they're spending 2 hours a day on there. So, if you are able to take a step back and say, okay, during Lent, I'm not going to be on Facebook, or Fridays, I'm not going to be on Facebook. Then the other days, I am going to lead maybe a Facebook group that is actually focused on this one particular aspect of Catholic life. So it's going to be like a prayer group on Facebook. That way, you're not just being overwhelmed by that tsunami that we were talking about before, but you're actually finding a way to use it as a tool for a good purpose. So I'm going to run my parish's social media, or I'm going to be on Facebook, but only for this particular purpose, and I'm going to try to do this outreach through it.
Your comments today, your teaching today, Doctor, is certainly challenging. And I'm just going to put it out there to all of our participants on the vast Guadalupe radio network. There's a lot of Catholics out there listening, and a lot of non-Catholics too, that are listening to what you're saying. And I'm just going to put it out there as a priest, on behalf of the Institute of Catholic Culture and GRN, to put a challenge out there, and that is, the unexamined life is not worth living. And I would challenge you to examine your life and examine the use of technology in your life, and then make the heroic decision regarding these things. And it really is a heroic decision, is it, Doctor? Tell me, I mean, seriously, when you got rid of your smartphone and you went to this flip phone, my brother, by the way, has an old-time corded phone, you know, still plugged into the wall. And when you did this, what was it like? It was probably difficult.
It was relieving. I literally could feel something lifting off of my shoulders. And I did feel like I was more available to my family and to the Lord in prayer, but it is inconvenient. There is no doubt. I mean, there's a lot of times when, you know, I'm even missing out on a group chat with photos and whatever, because my phone can't handle that. Or, you know, getting directions and all of these things are more difficult, but we make a sacrifice for what is more important. And so I'm very happy with the decision. I'm not looking back. And so if I balance that out, the inconvenience versus the benefit, I definitely feel the benefit much more strongly.
You know, Doctor, just maybe we can kind of come to a conclusion here. I'm going to recommend a couple things, a couple resources to all of our participants. But, you know, I always think about this, the family room. And in the middle of the family room, the focal point of most of our family rooms is the television. I'm going to challenge everybody. What's the most important part of your life? Put that in the center of your living room. Yeah? Put your prayer corner in the most central place of your living room, and pick up your television. And if you don't have the strength right now to pick it up and throw it into the trash can, then pick it up and put it somewhere else. Right? That it's not in the central place of where I live. If you don't want the television to be the center of your life, then don't put it in the center of your living room. If you don't want the television to be the center of your family, then don't put it in the middle of the center of your family room. Yes? Put it somewhere else. And the best place, Father Hezekias says for it, the very best place is in the dumpster. Yeah? Pick it up, rip it out of the wall, and throw it into the dumpster. And you know what, Doctor? I'm going to tell you, the weight is going to be lifted. That's how it was for my family. When my father got rid of it out of it, we went back to playing chess, drawing, building things. I discovered a whole vocation in my life because the television was gone from the living room. And I'm going to invite everybody. We've got some resources, the Institute of Catholic Culture, that I want everyone to know about. First of all, I encourage you to visit iccradio.org/learn. That's iccradio.org/learn. And at the Institute of Catholic Culture, we have well over 1,000 hours of on-demand faith formation. We have live educational programs going on all the time. We're just finishing a series on the study of the Gospel of John. We're finishing a whole series with Dr. Stout, 10 weeks on the art of catechesis. You can find wonderful teachings there from Monsignor Pope, Father Scalia, Father Spitzer, and it's all free of charge because Jesus says, you've received freely, give freely. That's our mission at the Institute of Catholic Culture, instituteofcatholicculture.org. But there's two resources, Annie, that are on our website that I want everybody to know about. I think you've got the names of them. One is from Dr. Cutterback, the other's from Father Scalia.
Yeah, from Dr. John Cutterback. That's the lecture is called Tied to Technology. Again, Tied to Technology. And then from Father Paul Scalia, it's Technology and the Tree, which is such an intriguing title to me. And we'll have those linked at iccradio.org to make it that much easier for listeners to find them and access them.
Doctor, I shared a couple concluding thoughts from my own experience regarding the television in the middle of the living room. But I'd like to give you an opportunity also to kind of share your encouraging words with our participants today.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, John Sr., who's had a really big impact on a lot of Catholics, said to smash the TV. He didn't say just put it in the dumpster. He said to smash it.
There you go.
I kept a tally of about a dozen of my students who did do that and reported back that they were very happy about the process.
What's the hammer for, Doctor, right? What's the hammer for?
Well, there you have it. I mean, yeah. But I would say, you know, what is the point of this? It is about communion, right? So prioritize people over things to rehumanize our culture, and prioritize God first of all. Make a sacrifice of your time. That's the hardest sacrifice, right? Is to say, I will carve out every day this sacred time for the Lord, and then I'm going to carve out this time for my family. And you will not regret that. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, you will look back and you will say, that was absolutely worth the sacrifice.
It's not going to be 20 or 30 years, Doctor. It's going to be 2 to 3 days. I'm pretty sure about that.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Again, I invite everybody, if you want to learn more from Dr. Stout, come visit us at instituteofcatholicculture.org. Check us out. We're ICCradio.org, and you can learn more from Dr. Jared Stout there, the Institute of Catholic Culture. And again, take a look at these really wonderful programs by Father Paul Scalia, Technology and the Tree, or Dr. John Cuddeback, Tied to Technology. Again, instituteofcatholicculture.org, and we've got well over 1,000 hours of free educational programs and live programs going on all the time. Father Wynandy, by the way, Annie, I believe Father Wynandy is going to be with us on Palm Sunday coming up to prepare us for Holy Week with a wonderful program regarding the crucifixion.
Yes, this is called Why. It's Does God Suffer? Reconciling God with the Cross of Christ. Father Thomas Wynandy on Palm Sunday. This is going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central. And all you got to do is go to iccradio.org/learn, and you type in your email address, and you will find access to it all.
Thank you, Doctor, for being with us. That'll do it for this edition of Face to Face with the Institute of Catholic Culture. Again, we'd love you to join our ICC community. Go to iccradio.org and click Learn More to find out more about our mission at the Institute of Catholic Culture. God bless you all.
Show your support for life. The Knights of Columbus Council number 17196 is hosting a clay shooting tournament benefiting Flourishing Tree Family Pregnancy Resource Center on Saturday, March 20th